Show with Alex C. A sports show for sports fans by a sports fan. And now, here is Alex C.
Hey everybody, how you doing? Okay, so we got a lot of things to talk about today. A couple of things that I really kind of didn't really want to get into, but it looks like I kind of have to, just because I kind of got to prove a point in regards to how badly the four-letter network is actually run. I think it's pretty bad. First, it all started off with Stephen A. Smith making the racial remarks, and then nothing happens to him. I told everybody how displeased I was with that, how I cannot believe that in a day and age where everybody else is getting ridiculed, removed, and basically, you know, told off for making lesser remarks than what Stephen A. Smith made. And all he did was make a simple apology. And all of a sudden we accept an apology from Stephen A. Smith, but we don't accept apologies from other people. I just do not like what is called a double standard. I've talked about this several times. Double standards is kind of the thing that I rail against. It's the only thing that I really rail against. I'm not a social justice warrior. I never have been, never will be, do not plan on ever becoming one. But again, I think there is a huge issue when you got somebody like Stephen A. Smith who makes a racial remark, gets away with making a racial remark, and then he actually has the power to get Max Kellerman removed from First Take because for whatever the reason is, and I'm sure, you know, there was probably an issue in regards to getting along. We've heard all the comments that Stephen A. Smith has made about Max Kellerman, you know, calling him his little brother and basically dismissing his opinions and views many a time. And, you know, basically, you know, that's what Stephen A. Smith does. That's how everybody will, you know, basically justify what he does, the way he is, the way he dismisses people, the way he talks down to people, the way he demeans people, you know, and again, he seems to be able to get away with it. I don't understand why. It doesn't make sense to me. Again, here's a guy at a network, a major network, one of the most major networks in sports, and he has the ability to make racial remarks and get people removed from a show, and it doesn't make sense to me. Now, I have a theory as to why it is, and if my theory is correct, it's wrong. Absolutely W-R-O-N-G, wrong, why you would allow him to get away with it. And that just tells me if what I think, and I'm not going to say what I think it is, but if what I think it is in fact the reason why they're letting him get away with it, that means that they'll let him get away with it yet again, if it ever happens again, because the bottom line is the network's afraid of him. That's the bottom line. They're not really necessarily afraid of him personally per se. They're just afraid of him. And I just think the whole thing is wrong. I don't think it's right. I don't think it sets a good precedent. And again, when you're removing other people and you're just making moves because you think they're the politically correct moves to make, and you're trying to talk about how you are making moves to be a more politically correct network, and then you let Stephen A. Smith get away with the garbage that he's getting away with, it makes no sense. And to prove my point in regards to Stephen A. Smith removing Max Kellerman and it be a garbage move that's being allowed to be made, let's talk about Rachel Nichols, shall we? Because this is pretty interesting. Again, keep in mind, I've been railing Stephen A. Smith getting away with what he gets away with, being able to say what he says, being able to be racial, being able to make a racial remark, being able to come back on the air, being able to come back and say an apology. And some way, somehow, America is supposed to just accept his apology. But yet you got a situation with Rachel Nichols who, let's talk about that, shall we? I'm going to read you two different reports from two different sources. And I'm going to read them to you. And then we're going to talk about it, because I think this whole thing is interesting, and it shows you how poorly the four-letter network is run when, again, you allow Stephen A. Smith to do what he does, but look at what happens to Rachel Nichols, and look at what the end result is with the whole debacle with Rachel Nichols is, okay? Again, I'm going to read you two different sources. This one is Sports Illustrated. The network couldn't have done a worse job handling this controversy, and then there was none. A couple of months ago, the four-letter network had Rachel Nichols and Maria Taylor to anchor its NBA studio shows. Now, neither is part of ESPN's coverage. Maria Taylor bolted Bristol for NBC right after the NBA Finals, and Wednesday, the four-letter network announced that it had canceled Nichols' daily afternoon show, The Jump, and that Nichols would no longer be part of its NBA coverage. Throughout this saga, it's been hard to imagine how the four-letter network could have handled things any more poorly. And yesterday was the icing on the cake. Keep in mind, I'm reading you a story from roughly about a week ago. Okay, that's the reason why I'm saying yesterday and so on and so forth, just to make sure that we put everything in proper context here. A reminder, The four-letter network knew a year ago about the comments Nichols made in her hotel room on a private phone call that were secretly recorded and then distributed by another ESPN employee. It did nothing in terms of discipline, at least publicly. In July, the New York Times revealed Nichols' comments just a couple of weeks before Taylor's contract with ESPN was set to expire. And here is what Nichols said. I wish Maria Taylor all the success in the world. She covers football. She covers basketball. If you need to give her more things to do because you are feeling pressure about your crappy long-time record on diversity, which, by the way, I know personally from the female side of it. Now, this is Rachel Nichols talking. Go for it. Just find it somewhere else. You are not going to find it from me or taking my thing away. I just want them to go somewhere else. It's in my contract, by the way. This job is in contract in writing. The last tidbit seems to be forgotten in this entire controversy. It was in Nichols' contract that she hosts NBA Countdown during the finals. ESPN, though, gave the assignment to Taylor, so this entire thing was ignited by the four-letter network. After Nichols' private conversation became public, the four-letter network then pulled Nichols from the NBA Finals, and now a month later, they've pulled her from all NBA coverage. You can debate all day long whether Nichols should have lost her job over this, and this is now the writer speaking. I don't believe she should have. But what can't be debated is how poorly ESPN handled all this. The bottom line is that if this story did not end up in the New York Times, Nichols would have worked the NBA Finals and would still be hosting the jump. Folks, that is fact, not fiction. Fact, not fiction. But because the story came out, all of a sudden, oops, we got to make some kind of move, and they didn't know what moves to make. And I agree with the writer. They made all the wrong moves in regards to this situation. And let's read just a little bit further, and then we're going to jump over to the other article that I have. The four-letter network had multiple chances to handle this properly. Again, this is the writer speaking. I don't believe Nichols should lose her job, but obviously the four-letter network did. So if the end result was going to be cutting ties with Nichols, the four-letter network could have done it last year when it found out about the secretly recorded comments. They could have done it when the Times story came out. They could have done it the day after the NBA Finals. Instead, the network dragged this out and humiliated Nichols along the way. And meanwhile, neither lady works for the network. Now, that's one story. Here comes the other story. And this one says, the four-letter network embarrassed itself. And I'm just going to read from this point forward. In the history of sports media management, the way the four-letter network handled Rachel Nichols' situation may not be the worst, but it can make a case. Maybe Nichols always deserved to be fired for her privately taped comments, in which she lamented about her perception of the four-letter network's poor diversity record and the idea that executives in the aftermath of the discussion on race after George Floyd's death were going to take away her contractually agreed upon job as the host of the NBA Finals and award it to Maria Taylor. And I don't even want to read the next part because I don't think that part should be mentioned. But someone as respected as NBA Commissioner Adam Silver did not think so. So what the article is saying is the NBA Commissioner himself thought that Rachel Nichols should not have been removed from her job. Now, let's read on a little more. Whatever view is correct, Nichols' show The Jump was officially canceled Wednesday, and she was essentially fired by the four-letter network, who will pay her the final year of her contract, which likely approaches $2 million. The fiasco was the result of embarrassing, indecisive management from the four-letter network chairman, Jimmy Pitaro, on down. Okay? I mean, look, this is a second network essentially saying the same thing that the first network said. Let's read a little bit more. More than a year ago, the four-letter network did not do anything of substance about Nichols' comments when they first found out about them. Nothing. Nada. The four-letter network management felt Nichols' words were so harmful, it only made a rule that Taylor and Nichols would not appear on the air together. Passive, meet aggressive. But that's not all. During that year, the four-letter network thought its NBA crew was doing such a stellar job, it promoted Mike Schiffman to senior vice president. Schiffman reported to Stephanie Drewley, who oversaw the NBA at the time. The duo was responsible for making peace between Nichols and Taylor, and it never happened. Okay? Are we seeing a pattern here? Are we seeing something about decision-making, bad decision-making on that? So let's read just a little bit more. Who this made sense to was never exactly clear. On the eve of the NBA Finals, Nichols led the jump by first saying a reporter should never make the story about themselves. She then started the program apologizing in the aftermath of the Time story again. This is how the jump was led on the eve of the NBA Finals. Could she hear her own words? A day later, with Game 1 of the NBA Finals that night, the jump was off the air. The four-letter network decided there was too much heat and gave the show a day off. It returned the next day. Meanwhile, Silver wondered during his finals press conference why the four-letter network didn't find a resolution between Nichols and Taylor earlier and said that careers shouldn't be erased by a single moment. Even after the finals, the four-letter network still did not take Nichols off the air. During the offseason, she was on the air until Wednesday when the four-letter network made it official that Nichols would not be on the NBA, but sources said she won't appear on the four-letter network again. So there you go. This is absolutely insanity. This shows you how poorly this network is run. Stephen A. Smith gets a full pass. Nobody has a problem with what he says at the network. They let him get away with it. Heck, they even elevate him in power, let him get rid of Max Kellerman. Meanwhile, Nichols, she gets the boot. You tell me how that makes sense. I don't hate the network. I don't. I respect them. They serve a purpose, and I respect the purpose that they serve. I don't respect the people that run the network, and there are certain people that work at the network that I don't necessarily respect. Stephen A. Smith being absolutely, positively, without a doubt, unequivocally one of them that I do not respect, and I never will, because this is a guy who's been given too much power, and he's ran his mouth, and you could tell by the way he runs his mouth that he feels his power, and he should not have that much power. Somebody needs to rein him in with a suspension or potentially a firing, because again, he made racial remarks. Why is he getting away with it and Nichols doesn't have a job? It makes absolutely no sense to me in any way, shape, or form. Again, hypocrisy. It's the one thing that I rail against. It's absolutely, positively, without a doubt, the one and only thing that I rail against. And this is where the four-letter network has made serious, egregious errors in judgment. Absolutely, positively, unequivocally, without a doubt, they have made nothing but bad decision after bad decision after bad decision. Empowering and emboldening certain people that should not be, and releasing people who probably should have gotten some discipline, but didn't necessarily need to be released. You want to talk about sensitivity training? I think all of the upper management in the four-letter network need what's called sensitivity training and common sense training. That's just my opinion. I'm going to let it go at that. Again, I just point out the hypocrisy because I thought that was absolutely ludicrous in regards to that whole situation. All right, now, the top 100. NFL released their top 100 list, right? Everybody knows about that. I'm only going to talk about the top 10, right? We don't want to go through 100 players. I mean, first of all, a lot of the players that are on there, they're probably not even really pieces that you really want to talk about. So let's talk about the top 10 players. All right, now, number 10. This one's kind of interesting in regards to the list, and I'll tell you why. Because we're talking about a guy who had one good season, all right? Josh Allen coming in at number 10. But he's only had one good season. I don't know how one season elevates you to a top 10 in regards to the NFL top 100. That's really the only reason why I don't have a problem with him being in the top 100 list. I just don't understand why he's number 10 in the top 100 list. All right. Number 9, TJ Watt. I would definitely understand that. Makes no sense to dispute that in any way, shape, or form. Let's face it, the guy's a monster. He's consistent, and that's what you're always looking for in a football player or in any athlete for that matter, right? So TJ Watt definitely fits the bill, and the guy's a beast, and his expectations for this year are very, very high. DeAndre Hopkins coming in at number 8, another player. Again, in all honesty, I'm surprised he's not a little higher. I'm not saying I would put him necessarily top 5, but I might drop him up, 1 or 2 positions just because the guy is unbelievable. Tom Brady, number 7. I'll be honest, I'm surprised he's only number 7. I get it. Everybody's finally talking about his age a little bit, and they're talking about certain things about his inabilities and so on and so forth. But I am surprised they put him only at number 7. Me personally, I would have dropped him a lot further than 7. I would have put him in the top 20. I don't think I'd have him in the top 10. But again, having him at number 7, okay, makes sense for them because, again, I'm surprised they don't have him in the top 3 or number 1 for that matter. Number 6, Davante Adams. He's a good receiver. I don't think of Davante Adams when I think of big-time receivers in the NFL, however. Again, DeAndre Hopkins, I do. So I would definitely swap those if Davante even needs to be in the top 10. I'm really not convinced that Davante Adams needs to be in the top 10. Again, it's just my opinion. I'm not going by stats. I'm not the stats guy. I'm not an inside guy, right? Remember, I'm a sports fan doing a sports show for sports fans. But Davante Adams coming in at number 6. Kind of an interesting one for me, again, because I don't think in any way, shape, or form he should be higher than DeAndre Hopkins. Number 5, Travis Kelsey. So Travis Kelsey, you know what? Yeah, I could definitely see that all day, every day. Travis Kelsey, number 5, the guy's a beast. He's consistent. He's tough. He's durable. He's always available. And your number 1 ability is availability. And Travis Kelsey fits the bill. Number 4, Derrick Henry. Absolutely. The guy's a beast. He's the rhyme and the reason why the Titans go. He is the mountain in the molehill, and he is the one who's going to determine how far the Titans can actually go when it comes to the playoffs this year. And let's face it, he determined it last year. The offense goes through Derrick Henry. Number 3, I probably would have put him at number 2. Aaron Rodgers, quarterback for the Green Bay Packers. I would have put him at number 2 because I do like number 1. So, again, Aaron Rodgers, absolutely, he is a top 10, top 5. But to me, he is the number 2 player in the NFL. But the NFL has him ranked at number 3. Number 2, I would have him in the top 10, 15. I don't think he deserves to be number 2. I'm talking about Aaron Donald of the Rams. Again, he's a good player. He's an impact player. He didn't really show as much impact last year. And honestly, the last couple of years, while he's been good, he's been consistent. He's not a difference maker, hasn't been a difference maker. In my opinion, I don't see him as being number 2. I don't even think he should be in the top 5. Again, I think he could be in the top 20. I do not agree with him being number 2. Number 1, I don't think anybody could dispute in any way, shape, or form. Patrick Mahomes coming in number 1. And absolutely, I don't think across the board there's anybody who would dispute Patrick Mahomes being number 1 in the NFL top 100. All right, so that's going to do it for today. You guys have a great day. I will talk to you tomorrow. And remember, be safe. I get it. Everybody's enjoying Labor Day weekend, but I'm just telling you, be safe, right? We want to hear from you, not about you. You have a great day.